Ladies and gentlemen, they disrespected you because they thought they could control you. They talked down to you because they never imagined you would rise above them. They wounded you expecting a war, a fight, a clapback. But instead, you gave them silence, and that silence is louder than any scream you could have made. Your silence after the disrespect isn't weakness, it's warfare. Your calm isn't cowardice, it's confirmation that you're evolving. You don't have to scream anymore to prove your strength. You don't have to react to validate your identity. You're not who they said you were, you're who God knows you are. And your silence is the thunder that echoes that truth. Your silence is the sound of self-respect. Your silence is strategy. Because while they gossip, God is working. While they mock, heaven is moving. While they plot, God is preparing a table right in front of them. You don't have to pull them down when you're already rising. You see, silence after disrespect is a weapon the enemy never expects. Because when you stop responding, you stop feeding their ego. When you stop defending yourself, you start trusting God to be your defender. That's why it's killing them. Not because you're gone, but because you're growing. You're not arguing anymore because you've got assignments. You're not bitter. You're booked. You're not hurt, you're healing. And the sound of your silence is what's wrecking them. It's the reminder that you don't need them. You don't chase them. No longer live under the limits they tried to place on you. So stay quiet. Stay focused. Let the same people who disrespected your name watch God elevate it. Let your glow be the response. Let your discipline be the demonstration. Let your breakthrough be the broadcast. There is a kind of power that doesn't make noise, a kind of force that doesn't come with flashes, shouts, declarations. It doesn't come from slamming doors, screaming matches, or trying to out-argue someone. This kind of power is not chaotic, but calm. It is not loud, but strong. It's called strategic silence, and it is one of the most underestimated forms of authority on this earth. You see, silence is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. Silence is not you backing down or walking away in shame. No, silence is often the greatest move a strong soul can make when confronted with drama, disrespect, or disappointment. They thought your silence meant you didn't have anything to say. They assumed your quiet meant you were defeated. They believed that because you didn't retaliate, you weren't hurt. But what they failed to understand is that your silence was not a lack of response. It was a strategic response, a calculated, controlled, power-filled response. When someone disrespects you, the flesh wants to react, the ego wants to rise up and shout, "How dare you?" But your spirit, the part of you that is wise, the part that is healed, the part that has already seen too much to go back, tells you to stay calm, to keep your peace, to let them bark while you build, to let them argue while you ascend, because real power doesn't need to yell. Real power doesn't chase applause. Real power doesn't beg for recognition. It just stands. It just keeps walking. It just trusts that vindication comes not through confrontation, but through elevation. Think about that moment when they slandered your name. You wanted to defend yourself, but something in your spirit told you, let it go. That was strategy. That was wisdom. That was God showing you how to keep your crown on your head when someone else was trying to knock it off. You see, people are watching. Oh yes, they're watching closely. The same ones who disrespected you are checking to see if they still have access to your peace. They're watching to see if you'll fall apart like they hoped you would. They're watching to see if their betrayal broke you. And when you remain silent, remain poised, when you remain focused, it kills them. Not because you hurt them intentionally, because you've shown them that you're no longer at their level. You've leveled up emotionally, spiritually, mentally. And now you operate from a higher realm where peace is power and noise is a distraction. Strategic silence gives you room to hear from God, because when you stop shouting, you start listening. And when you start listening, you gain clarity. You gain perspective. You start seeing that the rejection was actually redirection, that the disrespect was actually revelation, that the closed door was actually protection. You can't see that while you're still shouting. You can't grasp that while you're still defending yourself to people who never intended to understand you. So many people lose time, energy, and purpose trying to win arguments that don't matter. But silence teaches you what's worth your words. Silence disciplines you. It humbles you. It trains you to hold your tongue when your pride wants to speak. Teaches you how to walk away, not in defeat, but in dignity, because silence is not passive. Silence is not absent. Silence is not giving up. It is active resistance to chaos. It is divine restraint in the face of temptation. It is you saying, I choose not to waste my roar on someone who cannot handle my whisper. Some people are loud because they're empty. You don't need to be loud when you're full. You don't need to shout to prove your strength. You prove it in your calm. You prove it in your progress. You prove it by showing up day after day, growing, glowing, healing, succeeding, and saying nothing. And the enemy hates that. He hates your silence because it shows that you are no longer easily controlled. You're no longer triggered by every attack. You're no longer reactive. You become unshakable, and that makes you dangerous. Strategic silence is not about suppression. It's about wisdom. It's knowing when to speak and when to be still. It's knowing that timing matters, and not every season is a speaking season. Some seasons are for sowing, some are for growing, and some are for listening. Some seasons are not for clapping back, they're for climbing higher. So let them wonder. Let them sit in the discomfort of your quiet. Let them wrestle with the fact that they no longer have the access they once had. You're not who you used to be, and your silence proves that. You've grown past the need to fight small battles. You've outgrown the need to always be heard, because now you're being seen. Your life is your voice now. Your fruit is your defense. Your peace is your proof. Growth is not the absence of pain. It's the presence of perspective. It's the ability to sit with what hurt you, what confused you, what embarrassed you, what tried to break you. And instead of letting it poison you, you let it prepare you. Reaction is what the old you did when someone pushed your buttons. When you didn't get the attention, the validation, the apology, or the outcome you thought you deserved. It's what you did when your self-worth was still attached to the approval of people who didn't even know how to love themselves. You used to live on edge, waiting for someone to test you, to trigger you, to treat you like you were less. And when they did, you gave them what they expected. You matched their energy. You lost your cool. You gave away your power. But growth teaches you something beautiful. You don't have to prove who you are to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Because growth has shifted your focus. You're no longer driven by a need to be right. You're driven by a need to be well. You're no longer trying to win arguments. You're trying to win peace. You're not proving a point. You're protecting your future. You don't always get to choose how people treat you, but you do get to choose what spirit you respond from. Will you react out of your insecurity, or will you respond from your identity? When you stop reacting, people will accuse you of being cold, arrogant, disconnected. You're not cold. You're focused. You're not disconnected, you're discerning. You're not arrogant. You've just learned that some conversations are beneath your purpose. Some battles are not yours to fight. Some people are not qualified for your energy. Reaction is often rooted in unresolved trauma. That's why growth requires healing. Challenge you, because until you heal what hurt you, you'll keep bleeding on people who didn't cut you. You'll keep reacting to situations with the same anger, fear, insecurity that formed your survival mode. You've outgrown that level of warfare. You've evolved beyond the need to retaliate. And in that, there's a power the enemy hates. You start receiving joy that doesn't depend on people, and strength that doesn't come from being right. You start stepping into the fullness of who you are, not because you proved them wrong, but because you stayed true to what was right inside of you. You think that person ghosted you, betrayed, you walked away from you. But it wasn't rejection, it was divine redirection. God stepped into a room you weren't allowed to enter yet and removed what you didn't even know was going to break you. There are things happening in the supernatural that would terrify you if God allowed you to see them. But He doesn't. Instead, He gives you peace. Peace in the middle of things you don't understand. Peace when you should be panicking. peace that makes no sense to the human mind. Why? Because God is fighting for you. You don't have to fight every battle. Some of them, yes, He'll call you to show up, to stand, to speak. There are other battles, deep, dark, dangerous battles that only He can win. God says, the battle is not yours, it is mine. That's not just scripture. That's survival. That's the reason you're still here. That's the reason the storm didn't drown you. That's the reason the betrayal didn't bury you. That's the reason you're still breathing, still healing, still moving forward when everything around you tried to keep you stuck. Sometimes God delays your deliverance because He wants you to witness what He's about to do. He wants you to see how He moves mountains. He wants you to feel the moment He shifts the atmosphere. He wants you to recognize His fingerprint on your breakthrough. So when it comes, it wasn't coincidence or chance, it was God. Unseen battles are often accompanied by unseen victories. And we, as people, love visible proof. We want to see the enemy defeated. We want the apology. We want the closure. We want the testimony wrapped in a bow, something we can post, share, shout about. Because if you saw everything He fought off for you, you might never sleep again. If He revealed every spiritual dart that was aimed at your mind, your marriage, your mission, you might crumble under the weight of that revelation. So instead, He says, trust me, I've got you. You don't need to know what I'm fighting. Just know I am fighting. Even now, you may feel surrounded by bills, pressure, heartbreak, uncertainty. But the Word says, those who are with us are more than those who are with them. You may feel outnumbered, but you're not outmatched because you have God on your side. And if God be for you, who can be against you? The enemy wants you to believe you're losing because you're weary. He wants you to think that silence equals absence, but God's silence is never abandonment. Sometimes it's strategy. He's setting the stage, preparing the path, orchestrating a rescue mission you'll only understand in hindsight. God is fighting battles you don't even know are happening. And the reason you're still standing is because He hasn't lost one yet. He's fighting in boardrooms where your name is mentioned. He's fighting in relationships where betrayal is forming. He's fighting in realms where curses are being crafted. He's fighting over your children, over your health, over your destiny. So the next time you feel the weight of unseen pressure, just remember, there's a war happening that you're not meant to fight. But you're still going to win. There is a kind of calm that shakes the room more than chaos ever could. There's a kind of peace that screams louder than confrontation. And there is a kind of silence that makes those who once disrespected you sit with the discomfort of their actions. You see, when you choose to be calm after being disrespected, belittled, or wronged, you are not being passive, you are being powerful. You are stepping into a realm where maturity trumps emotion, where restraint reveals more strength than reaction, and where peace becomes your loudest statement. Instead, you went silent. You stood still. You kept your mouth shut and your head held high. You didn't match their chaos with chaos. You didn't match their insecurity with rage. You didn't fight fire with fire. You smothered it with wisdom. See, when someone does you wrong and you don't retaliate, it forces them to sit in their own guilt. They're left with their actions. No reaction from you to justify what they did. No explosion to make you look unstable. No drama to shift the blame. And it makes them rethink. It makes them revisit. It makes them replay the moment they crossed a line, and suddenly your calm becomes a mirror. A mirror they didn't ask for, but one they now have to face. People are rarely convicted by confrontation. When you argue with someone who wronged you, it often fuels their defensiveness. It gives them an excuse to focus on your reaction instead of their action. But when you respond with calmness, they have nothing to hold on to but the echo of their own behavior. Your calm is making them confront the truth about themselves. Your lack of response is shining a light on the depth of their immaturity, their brokenness, their manipulation, their pride. And for the first time, they can't use you as a distraction from the dysfunction within themselves. You see, calm is not the absence of emotion. It's the mastery of it. It's the ability to feel everything and still choose to rise above it. It's the strength to say, I could lash out, but I won't. I could drag you, but I'll walk away instead. I could match your energy, but I'm on a whole different frequency now. Because when you've done the work to heal, to forgive, to let go, you no longer entertain what used to throw you off course. You stop handing your power to people who haven't earned the right to be in your presence. You stop proving, defending, and explaining. You stop rehearsing the offense. You stop trying to make them see your side. Let your consistency speak for itself. Let your silence expose the noise in their spirit. Let your peace disrupt the chaos they carry. They can't comprehend why their drama didn't break you, why their betrayal didn't unhinge you, why their lies didn't dismantle your confidence. It's because they underestimated your growth. They confused your past pain with present weakness. They thought you hadn't changed, but you did. And your calm is proof. You are calm because you've realized that revenge is a distraction and reaction is a detour. And you've got places to go, things to build, purpose to fulfill. You don't have time to keep explaining yourself to people who are more committed to causing confusion than seeking truth. You're not responsible for how your healing makes others feel. You're not responsible for how your boundaries disturb their dysfunction. You're not responsible for how your elevation offends their ego. Let them wrestle with your silence. Let them wonder why you didn't react. Let them replay the moment they lost access to your energy. And once you stopped reacting, once you stopped dancing to the beat of their dysfunction, once you became still in your spirit, that's when you became powerful beyond what they could handle. So stay calm, stay focused, stay rooted in the truth of who you are. You don't have to explain your calm. You don't have to justify your silence. Just keep building, keep healing, keep walking. You do not have to justify the healing that pulled you away from chaos, nor apologize for the clarity that created distance between you and familiar dysfunction. There comes a time in your life when you begin to rise, not out of arrogance, but alignment. Not because you're trying to be better than anyone, because you're finally becoming who you were always meant to be. You are not required to shrink yourself so others stay comfortable. You are not called to play small just to keep people from feeling insecure around your progress. You are not obligated to pause your purpose while others wrestle with their opinions about your transformation. Growth is hard enough without having to carry the weight of other people's expectations. Sometimes you reach a point where your only response is silence. Your only reaction is distance. Your only answer is to keep going. Because what you're building is sacred. What you're healing from is holy. What you're walking into is bigger than the opinions of people who were never assigned to go with you in the first place. You don't have to explain why you stopped returning the calls, why you stopped replying to the same empty conversations, why you're no longer available for gossip, for negativity, for environments where your soul starts shrinking again. You stop trying to convince people who never wanted to understand you. You stop needing validation from people who could never affirm your identity. You stopped justifying your growth to people who were more comfortable with your brokenness than your breakthrough. Some people will resent you not because you did something wrong, but because your healing reveals their stagnation. Your progress highlights their excuses. Your discipline exposes their distractions. And instead of rising with you, they criticize the way you rose. And obedience doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it comes with isolation. Sometimes it comes with people turning their backs on you, thinking you've changed, and they're right. You have changed. Not for the worse. You've changed for the better. You've changed for peace. You've changed for purpose. You've changed for alignment. Elevation will cost you something. It will cost comfort. It will cost familiarity. It may cost relationships, environments, and the version of you that thought you had to be liked by everyone to be valuable. You gain peace that can't be shaken. You gain vision that can't be clouded. You gain strength that doesn't need to be proven. You gain wisdom that doesn't need defending. And hear this, you don't owe anyone a behind-the-scenes view of what God is doing in your life. Some things are meant to be private, not because you're hiding, because you're honoring the sacredness of your process. What God is doing in your heart, in your mind, in your spirit, is not always for public consumption. Elevation doesn't require consensus. It doesn't need a crowd to confirm it. It doesn't ask for permission. When it's your time, it's your time. And when it's your season, God doesn't need a round table to decide if you're qualified. Because people may not understand now, but the fruit will speak for itself. Your life will become your testimony. Your results will become your voice. Your consistency will become your confirmation. You won't need to defend your decision to grow. Your growth will defend itself. You see, it's easy to misunderstand someone who refuses to stay stuck. People love you when you're predictable, when you don't challenge their perception, when you stay in the box they created for you. But the moment you break out, the moment you evolve, that's when the criticism comes. You don't fit the narrative anymore. You're not the version of you they could control, manipulate, or use, and that's a threat to small minds and insecure spirits. You're not required to convince them that God is working in your life. You don't have to explain why you chose peace over pettiness, why you chose distance over drama, why you let go of what looked good to grab hold of what's truly God. You don't have to explain why you stopped showing up to their invitations, their arguments, their manipulation tactics. You're growing, you're elevating, and real elevation doesn't announce itself, it demonstrates itself.